of all, who's Posh and who's Bex?
I'll ask you that question, Steve. I think you should answer that, mate.
I'm taking no part in that. I'm leaving it up to you guys.
I see Dean more as the Bex, to be honest. I don't know why. I don't see myself as Posh, but maybe that's how I fit in here. I'm not sure.
I love that.
Is that your kind way of saying I'm common, Adam? Is that what you...
No, I mean you've got the hair and the looks.
I don't know about that, mate. I let my wife have a go on my hair yesterday. You can see it's a bit shorter, so
What
brave man, but I think she's done all right.
Yeah, I've got the singing ability, obviously, dancing. I've got all that nailed, so that's more my bag.
Of course, you're a triple threat, Adam. Well, let's turn our attention to the team news then. There's quite a lot to get through, actually. We know that Ibrahima Diallo, Theo Walcott, Will Smallbone and Michael Obafemi are out injured. The good news, though, is that Takumi Minamino is back available today after being cut-tied midweek, and there's actually no other fresh injury concerns that we're aware of. So, Dean, how do you expect this team to differ from the side we saw take on Wolves on Thursday?
It's a great question, Kenzie, to be honest, and I think it's a challenge for the manager and one that he's probably been looking forward to for a few weeks now. The competition for places is tough. You've got players coming back in, like you say. The performance against Wolves during midweek was excellent. Does the manager risk it again and go with the same team after such a dominant performance and such a good win? I think Minamino will come back into the team. But I mentioned on Wednesday night that Gineppo done such a good job defensively, especially when Traore came on, that there's a shout for him to continue to play. Do you bring Shay Adams back into the team? But Nathan Redmond, again up front, him and Danny Ings were effective, especially second half when they were making that runs in behind. And obviously the centre-back position, you've got 4 centre-halves now fighting for 2 positions. So I expect Vestergaard to come back in, and then the goalkeeping position as well. So it's brilliant for the manager. It really is. He would have had to take it some time over his team selection for this game today. Will he look to freshen it up? Potentially. But I think the players' energy levels, the players' confidence will be up after the result during midweek, and they'll want to play again. They'll want to go again. So it's a tough decision, but I'm sure the one that the managers are really relishing.
Yeah, most definitely. It's great to see healthy competition for that starting 11. Adam, what are your thoughts then? Particularly, I suppose, after Mohamed Salisu's impressive debut midweek, do you expect him to keep his place?
I tend to side with Dean. I actually think maybe Vestergaard will come back in for this game. I think, it was a good debut. Obviously, really, really pleased that I think everybody's really pleased to have finally kind of seen him out on the pitch in a Saints shirt and performing. And you can see why Ralph has definitely earmarked him as one for the future. But I just feel like maybe kind of Saints probably need to get back to a consistent selection again. They're consistently best team. And I think we have seen so far this season that Vestergaard deserves his place in that side. So I think that Ralph will probably make that change. And I also agree with Dean. I think when you look at the options up top, I think maybe there's going to be an argument for a bit of fresh legs. Perhaps he'll have seen, maybe not even based entirely on performance, but based partly on, trying to keep things fresh, who maybe has looked a little bit leggy in the last day or two, and then he could bring Minamino in and just kind of freshen it up a little bit, because that's the one thing is that actually when you look at the two teams respectively, Wolves probably are going to make quite a lot of changes today. Very confused as to why they seem to have prioritised the league game over the cup game with their team selection. But anyway, that appears to be what they did, what they have done. So I expect that they'll make quite a few changes. So they'll be a bit fresher today. So I think Ralph will have half an eye on that and probably know that he needs to make just a couple of changes here and there. But when you look at the players he's talking about bringing in, realistically, that's probably going to, if anything, strengthen Saints and certainly not weaken them in any way.
Definitely. Well, there are 4 centre-backs fit and available for Southampton, so Ralph has got plenty of options there. Dean, how do you assess the battle for those places?
Well, brilliant. It really is. The competition for them 2 spots now is great. 4 really good centre-halves, and it's a tough decision. I mean, Salisu coming in, he showed his strength, how athletic he was. He seemed to read the game pretty well. He looked okay on the ball as well, and I think he grew into the game. You obviously got Jack Stevens, who's when he comes back into the team, he's very, very reliable. I think the manager can trust him. But is he playing consistently well enough to really remove Bednarak and Vestergaard? I think they're two strongest centre halves, really. I think that's the best partnership. I think them two together, that relationship is really, really strong. And when Southampton have been at their best this season, when they've performed consistently and kept clean sheets, them two have played together. So I think that them two playing together is a really strong foundation. It's a really good base for the team to build on, especially with Vestergaard. He's exceptional on the ball with them long diagonals. I think that's one thing potentially we've missed when he's not played. He's confident enough to hit them, and that allows Southampton, when they're building up play, to have that different dimension to their forward play as well. So, but it's brilliant for the manager. It really is, that he's got four players he can look at and think, well, whatever combination I go with, I've got a decent centre-half partnerships. But Bednarak and Vestergaard, I think, are your strongest two. And another thing, I looked at, they're all at great ages. I think there's a real blend between having young defenders. I didn't realise Bednarak was only 24. Jack Stevens, 27. Salisu's 21, I think. And Vestergaard's 28, something like that. So you've got players in their prime. You've got players that can learn from each other. So it's a real good blend.
I suppose, Adam, another talking point is in goal. Fraser Forster has now kept 4 clean sheets in 4 matches. Do you expect him to be given some Premier League game time, or do you think Ralph will stick with Alex McCarthy in goal?
Well, I mean, it's another great question, to be fair, and I'm not sure I actually have the answer as to what Ralph will do, because I think, and the reason for that is I think it's now a real live debate. I think up until recently, Alex was clearly the number one. Fraser was just going to be getting a bit of, sort of cup game time just to sort of ease him back in. But actually, if you're completely honest, Alex McCarthy's performances have become a little more erratic and a little more inconsistent. And Fraser's come in and has performed very consistently. And that obviously is going to have sowed a seed of doubt, I think, in Ralph's mind. We know that Ralph likes Fraser. We know he thinks a lot of him and that he's a good guy to have around, and that he does rate him as a goalkeeper. So I'm sure it's going through his mind at the moment that he might give Fraser some games. Obviously, the thing he will also be weighing up is it's a big thing to drop your goalkeeper. Even if it feels like in some ways a natural change, it's still going to be really big for Alex McCarthy to get dropped in sort of the last third of the season. So that there is kind of a big moment there. Whether that big shift comes in the summer or not, I don't know. But I would imagine that Ralph is going to keep playing Fraser in the FA Cup now, given he sort of marked him out as the FA Cup goalkeeper, as it were, which is a really interesting dynamic as well, because now at this stage of the season, you feel like that's Saints' number one priority is the FA Cup now. And the guy who's in goal for the FA Cup is not the guy who's been in the full season in the league. So interesting.
Yeah, well, the result of the cup tie against Wolves on Thursday means it's an away match in the next round in the quarter-finals at Bournemouth. And Ralph Hasenhüttl was asked about that fixture in his press conference after the Wolves game.
The draw that tonight has given you at Bournemouth, I think that gives another lift to the camp as well. I'm not saying because Bournemouth will be easy to beat, but because you will look forward to that quarter-final playing against Bournemouth. You could have been away at Manchester City or away at Old Trafford or wherever, but it's something now for the fans, for you and the players to look forward to that's not that far away. So it's going to help in the turnaround of things, isn't it, that hopefully tonight starts?
Yeah, I mean, when you take the risk of picking the best side for the FA Cup, then you hope that you win and you hope that you get a draw where you have a chance to come in the next round. I mean, last season we had Man City away. That was definitely tough. I don't say that it's easy against Bournemouth. The opposite, I expect. It's a South Derby, it's always tough, but we have a chance to go there and to win. And we don't need more. We only need a chance to do it. And this is the good sign, yes.
Oh, what a draw that is. Now, Dean, on paper, Bournemouth are the lowest ranked team left in the competition. Will that really boost the side, give them a bit of a confidence in compared to a draw like Man City away, say?
100%. I think we spoke about it before the show and what sort of, or after the show even, what sort of draw we'd all like. Obviously, a home draw against Bournemouth would have been the perfect scenario. But I think it just brings confidence. It brings excitement, not only to the players, but to the fans as well. It's a bit of a local derby, so there's some excitement in the area. And as well, I think it validates the manager's decision to play such a strong team in the FA Cup against Wolves. And it will boost his confidence as well, because the manager's the leader. He makes the decisions. And, he needs a confidence boost as well, with the results lately been a little bit inconsistent. And the players would have loved that, looking at thinking, okay, we're in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. We're going to play against Bournemouth, who are in the Championship, and we've got an opportunity to get into the semi-final of the FA Cup at Wembley against a lower-ranked division team. I think it's fantastic, and it would just help the morale. The players would talk about it in the dressing room. They would have talked about it on the bus on the way home. They would have been excited. And I think that will help with the league form as well. I'm sure the training ground on Thursday and Friday and Saturday building up to this game would have been, the atmosphere would have been good. The morale would have been up. Training would have been up, because obviously the result they got with the victory, and it will help with today's performance. But yeah, it's a brilliant result. It really, really is.
Adam, after the performance on Thursday and then getting Bournemouth in the next round, do you feel the season's maybe been reignited now? You did say after the Newcastle game that a lot hinged on getting through in the Cup.
Yeah, I really believe that, Steve. I felt like the season kind of was there. It was that game really for them. Even more so now, they've obviously got a draw, like as you alluded to earlier. It's not Man City away or anything like that. They've got what looks on paper to be a winnable fixture. And from Dean's earlier comment, I'm looking forward to the next month of arguing over whether it's a derby or not. It's not a derby. Just so you know, just mark that one out there now. I'll be getting a lot of abuse about that from Bournemouth fans, but I may as well say it now. But I think for Saints it is huge. It's a huge moment in their season. It's really given them a focal point to keep playing for. The league has drifted away from them slightly in terms of probably what they thought they were going to achieve. They're like a lot of clubs at the moment that are kind of stuck in the middle, not worried about going down, but also, hopes of anything really dramatic probably have slipped away. So you want something, you want a focus, you want the players to be invested so that when they go out and they play in those league games, they're still really giving it everything, because they've got something to play for, something to prove to the manager. You want the fans to be invested, you want them to be really excited as well by the prospect of what's to come in the season. You just don't want seasons dwindling away. That's always the most dispiriting, demoralising thing for every group of players, I think, and fans and everybody connected to the club, when you feel like kind of the season's over and you're just almost playing out time. But I think that the progress in the FA Cup has really ensured that won't be the case for Saints. And you've got to be honest, and I don't mean this to sound disrespectful to Bournemouth, because honestly this isn't. But when you look on paper, you couldn't really ask for a lot more. If you're a Premier League club like Saints, who can kind of beat anybody on their day, playing a club from a lower league for the chance to get to the FA Cup semi-finals, it, to be honest, is as good as it gets. So really, there's everything for Saints to play for still, and I expect that to fully seep into their league season as well now.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, it seems the fans very much echo those thoughts, Adam. They're feeling hugely confident. We'll have time for just about one or two of those. Perry thinks it's going to be a 1-0 win for the Saints today. Creative Control on YouTube is going for a 2-1 Saints win. Plenty of other positive comments coming in as well. We will get to those in a moment, but it is actually time to bring you the team news now. Just a couple of changes. Ralph has tinkered with the side as we expected. Let's take a look at that Saints team in full then. In goal, Alex McCarthy steps in to replace Fraser Forster. Ralph brings Yannick Vestergaard into the back four to replace Mohamed Salisu. He partners Jan Bednarek at centre-back, and the full-backs Carl Walker-Peters and Ryan Bertrand, who makes his 250th appearance for the club today. There's one change in the middle of the park too, as Takumi Minamino comes back in after being cup-tied midweek. He replaces Musa Gineppo. James Ward-Prowse, Oriol Romeu and Stuart Armstrong continue continue in midfield, and leading the line for the Saints today is Danny Ings and Nathan Redmond. The Southampton substitutes for you then are as follows: Fraser Forster, Jack Stevens, Mohamed Salisu, Kegs Chauke, Caleb Watts, Musa Gineppo, Nathan Teller and Shay Adams. Dean, let's come to you first then. Perhaps one of the talking points we mentioned was that Ralph may revert to the forward partnership of Danny Ings and Shay Adams, but he's stuck with Nathan Redmond up top. How does that work for you?
Well, it worked really well the other night, like I mentioned, especially second half when Danny, from his goal, his movement was running along the line and getting in behind the Wolves defence. Nathan had that chance when Stuart Armstrong slid him in and he ran him through on goal. So I think them two, their movement could be really vital against three centre-halves. You can cause real confusion against three centre-halves if your movement's very, very good and intelligent. And they have got that movement in behind. They both press the game very well. They've got lots of energy. I think Nathan, that's the best I've seen him play in a long time. He looked comfortable on the ball again. He's willing to run with the ball. He's happy to receive the ball with his back to goal as well, which is good. And they combine pretty well. I think they've been playing together now for a decent period of time, so there'll be an understanding. So yeah, it's fine. I think Shay, at the moment, I think Shay's form's good. I think he just needs a goal. So the manager may have looked at that and think, okay, let's take you out the firing line for a bit. Let's give you a little bit of a rest, recover mentally, if anything, get you back into the team, which he did last season when he came back into the team and found really good goal scoring form, and his performances were better. I think maybe that's the idea the manager's got today. But, Nathan and Danny played particularly well on Wednesday night, or Thursday night, whenever it was, so I forget. So why not continue with both of them? They cause real problems for Wolves, and hopefully they can continue that today.
Yeah, most definitely. It's certainly a very attacking side, isn't it? Adam, let's talk about Takumi Minamino then, because he comes back in after an impressive debut in the league last time out. What are you hoping his inclusion will bring to the side today?
Well, I kind of hope for more of the same of what we saw in his debut, really. I mean, he slotted in relatively seamlessly. He was, I guess he's come from Liverpool, and even though he hasn't played that much for Liverpool, they have a similar philosophy when you look at them as an attacking unit. They're not kind of in drilled positions. They do move around a lot, and that's something that Saints execute really well. They sort of switch between themselves. It causes a lot of problems for opposition defences as well. That kind of fluidity of movement and fluidity of positions. And I think that we saw that from him immediately. Obviously, a great goal, which topped it off, but kind of underlined not only his quality, but also that movement that he possessed, and a bit of intelligence as well, as to know where to pick up the ball. It was a fairly seamless debut, really. It was a great debut. So I think very much hoping for more of the same, and of course, the added freshness that he didn't play in the FA Cup game. So I think there'll be also a bit of expectation on his shoulders that he'll have to shoulder a little bit of work rate as well, and make sure that he's providing plenty of movement, especially as the game wears on, as obviously he hasn't got a game only a few days ago in his legs.
Yeah, just sticking with you, Adam, for a second. Wolves have only scored 9 goals on the road this season. That's the third fewest in the league. Meanwhile, Southampton have kept 6 clean sheets at home, and only Manchester City have a better record. Looking at who Ralph's picked today, it's a back four that we all expected. Do they have a chance of extending that run today?
I would say they do. I mean, Wolves just generally, obviously away from home, they've been poor scorers, but they haven't scored at all in 3 of their last 4. They generally have struggled a bit in front of goal. They do have, in my eyes, a stronger team out today than they did on Thursday. As I said earlier, personally, I don't understand why they prioritised today's game over Thursday's. We've talked about it reigniting Saints' season, the FA Cup. I don't really get it, but anyway, it's not for us to worry about what they're doing too much. But I think Saints are probably going to come under more pressure today. I think actually Wolves will pose a bigger threat today than they did on Thursday night. So I think that Saints will have to be on their guard today. But I'm pleased Vestergaard's back. I think that's a sensible and a solid move from Saints. And really, we've had to talk a lot, unfortunately, over the last month about the injuries and the depleted squad. Well, now we're starting to see players come back now, and that's a really positive thing for Saints, and it really strengthens them. And when you look at that starting lineup, you also take a look at the bench and you see a few experienced players or bigger names on there. It's kind of a boost. It's a boost for everybody, those that are starting, those that are on the bench, and everybody around the club. And really, there's only a few real big name players to come back now from injury. So I think Saints are strengthened. They're obviously confident. They will be tested more today, but they've kind of got a first choice goalkeeper, back four, and 2 central midfielders in front of them today. So they've got as good a chance as any of keeping a clean sheet against a Wolves team that have struggled with goal scoring.
Yeah, it's looking good for sure. And the fans are most definitely feeling the love on this Valentine's Day. Plenty of positive comments coming into us. We didn't have much of a chance to read those out before team news. We'll get to some of those now. Max on YouTube is going for a big Saints win today. He thinks it will be 3-1. JB's got in touch as well. He's left this comment on YouTube. Hopefully a win today. I was very, very impressed with Armstrong, Salisu and Bednarek from Thursday. It's very windy here at St Mary's. Apologies for that on the mic. We've got another prediction here, 2-0, all the best from Copenhagen, Denmark. Now Callum has got in touch. Cameron, he's on Facebook. He says he's watching from Cyprus. It's nice and cold with 16 degrees. Now Cameron, I'm going to take your 16 degrees and raise you with a very cold 3 degrees, I think it is at St Mary's, but it feels much colder, doesn't it, Steve?
Definitely.
And we've got John getting in touch too. He's supporting from Japan. He says hoping to see Minamino in action tonight.
Definitely. Well, speaking of Minamino, we spoke about him scoring on his debut last week, so we decided to take a look at some other Southampton players who also scored on their first appearance.
Oh, but Oldham have shot themselves in the foot. Here's Connolly to wrap it up. Cool as you like. Brill thought he was going for the opposite corner.
Back it comes into the Lana, can't quite keep possession, does so. Back it comes with a low shot, and Southampton have the lead. Here it comes. Ward-Prowse whips it to the heart of the box. Free header, and Southampton have the lead late. And on his debut, off the bench, Charlie Austin scores for Southampton. That's clever, there's no offside. Gabbiadini's beaten the trap, looking for support, needs help. Oh, he scored a great goal on his debut. No angle whatsoever. Manolo Gabbiadini scores for Southampton. Bertrand now striding towards the box. Low ball to the edge of the penalty area. Lovely touch from Minamino. And from a narrow angle, he fires in on his debut for Southampton. A terrific finish by the Japanese international forward.
Some crackers in there, and amongst them is Saints legend Ricky Lambert. Dean, perhaps not one of his best, but certainly a sign of good things to come.
It really was. Obviously, a fantastic signing for the football club. But the goal, that was typical of Ricky. I think he opened out, he played the ball wide to Lloyd James, and then there was no hesitation in his movement, just got straight into the box where he knew he could score. I think he scores with a diving header, so nice and brave. But no, Ricky, what a play. He's a legend at the football club. I was actually looking at his stats for what he achieved. And I think that season, in the first season, he went on to score 36 goals in his first season at the club, which was fantastic. And then in the second year, he got 21 goals when we got promoted from League One to the Championship, which surprised me a bit. But Ricky's all-round game was fantastic. I could imagine he probably got 20-odd assists as well. Brilliant player. And then his first year in the Championship, I think we all forget that. He hadn't played at that level in the Championship, and he went on to get 31 goals at that season again to get promoted, got in the PFA team of the year, just so effective. And when Ricky was in the team, he just gave you so much confidence. We talk about Danny Ings when Danny Ings plays, and it just raises the standards of players around him. Ricky was like that as well, not only because of his quality and the amount of goals he scored, but he was demanding as well. He expected good service, and if you didn't give it to him, he would definitely let you know. And that was good, because next time he got the ball, it meant you would get the ball in early to him, you would get into his feet, or you get a cross in. So, what a servant for the football club, a nice guy. And then, his first year in the Premier League as well, I think he got 15 goals, something like that. So, brilliant player, really, really was, and brilliant investment. I think the club paid £1 million for him maybe in League One, which everyone may have thought, oh, that's a lot of money for a League One. But to do what he did, I mean, one of the best signings ever in football, I think. So, yeah, brilliant.
I wonder how many pounds that works out per goal for Ricky there. Well, the Stephen Davis debut goal, Adam, will bring back some fond memories, the one at Manchester City. It's a game where Southampton looked like they could have recorded an unlikely win.
Yeah, happy days, really. Unfortunate not to get a result, but obviously back in the Premier League against the defending champions. Man City had won the title before in dramatic fashion, as we can all remember the classic last-minute Aguero goal. They were, and I think when you get the fixture list out, there's all that excitement, like who they're going to be playing first back in the Premier League, Saints, and then you see away to Man City, oh heck. And I think I don't know what the feeling was like in the squad, but I think for all of us travelling up there, we were braced for, oh my goodness, this could be an absolute battering today. And so to turn up and be so competitive, push Man City so hard like that, I think just gave, even though the result didn't end up going the way that we hoped it could do at one point in the game, just the fact that the Saints were so competitive, I think gave everybody a huge boost. It gave a bit of belief that actually, you know what, they might be able to compete reasonably well at this level, which is what we'd hoped, but you just don't know until you see the players kind of out on the pitch and playing. And and on Stephen Davis specifically as well, another guy who goes down as a great signing and an absolute bargain. I think 800,000 about that Saints ended up paying. Obviously, it took advantage of a difficult financial situation for Rangers at the time to get hold of him. But another great servant for the club, superb, and that kind of marked his quality and the start of things to come. But yeah, those were heady days, and you can almost, when you recall them, you can almost remember the nerves before the game and the excitement during the match as well. It was special times, days like that.
Most definitely. And Dean, another player to score on their first appearance for the Saints was David Connolly. He scored plenty of important goals for Southampton. What are your memories of him?
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I saw Connors actually about a week ago. I've not seen him for years. Still the same. But no, a really, really good signing by the football club. I think Alan Pardew bought in him in the first season when I was there. And we were just talking about Ricky, and I think Ricky learnt a lot off David. David had a brilliant career. He really did. He suffered with injuries. He couldn't get a consistent partnership going when he was at Southampton. But I think he still made 60 odd appearances, maybe scored 15 to 20 goals. So, he still had a real impact. Played for some brilliant clubs. I mean, the clubs he played for, I think Feyenoord, West Ham, Sunderland, Leicester, Southampton. So a really good player. And you see from his goal, when he gets it, he's really, really composed in front of goal. He waits, he's nice and patient, and then he gives the goalkeeper the eyes and then goes into at the near post, which is quite easy to miss. So it was a really, really good finish. But no, David was really good in the dressing room. He set an example to the younger players. He was very, very demanding. He spoke his opinion. He expected certain standards, which was great because it rubbed off on us younger guys. So, he was a really, really good signing. Probably didn't see the best of him because of the injuries, but he had a big impact to the football club and a big impact on us younger players. He set the tone, and when Dave was training, you knew about it, which was good. But a great striker, honestly, one of the most talented players I've played with. He was exceptional. He really, really was. But unfortunately, his body let him down towards the end of his career.
Well, when it comes to instant impacts, Manolo Gabbiadini was the guy. Not only did he get a goal on his debut, but 6 in his first 4 games. It's just a shame he couldn't keep that consistency up, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been some player had he been able to keep going like that. I mean, it was ridiculous, really. But what was interesting about him is when he signed, I remember speaking to a couple of journalists that had covered him in Italy and looking through all his career stats, and everything suggested that's the kind of player he was. he was incredibly streaky throughout his entire career. He had scored prolifically in very short spells and then gone very long spells without scoring. That was just the way his career had gone up until that point. And so he came in, obviously, at Saints, had a huge impact. I mean, he got those goals, obviously, especially the ones at Wembley, really threw him into the spotlight at a time when, you know, it was bizarre. I mean, he'd barely arrived. He didn't really know his teammates. He couldn't speak a word of English. The whole thing was quite surreal. But obviously, it also served to really raise expectations around him as a player as well, I think. And it's a slightly difficult one because I kind of, in my mind, always thought maybe this is a bit of a flash in the pan, and this guy, his career has not suggested he does this consistently. Sure enough, that is how it panned out. But obviously, because I think the supporters had kind of seen those goals from him and had sort of taken as they'd been excited by him and really enjoyed him playing and having those moments. There was a lot of pressure then on the managers at any time when they weren't scoring goals to pick him. But the problem is when he did eventually get picked. To be honest, he didn't really perform all that well. And kind of the other big impact he had, obviously, was the goal at Swansea, which effectively kept Saints in the Premier League again, which was sort of another one of those moments. You're just like, wow, kind of where's that come from this guy? Just turned up and they scored this goal. But that was just the way his career was. And sometimes I think you just get players like that. It's just the way they are. And if they were consistent, if he was able to be consistent, he'd have been an 100 million pound striker. Probably, in truth, wouldn't have played for Saints because he'd have been a big club earning huge money. But yeah, you've just got to take those players for what they are. You can't force them to be anything other than what they are. As a manager, you're just trying to improve them and use them where you can. But unfortunately, that inconsistency of performance as well as goal scoring really did limit his career at Saints and has limited his career overall. But when he's on, blimey, is he on.
Well, as always, those of you watching along at home are getting involved in the conversation. Plenty of you sending in comments on those goals there. St. Paris on YouTube has said, we love Lambert. What a team that was. And Tom's actually got in touch on Facebook, Steve, in answer to your question about what it would work out per goal for Ricky. Right. He's done the math for us. Apparently £8,547 per goal for Lambert, which
that's cheap.
Worth every penny, I'd say. I think we'd all agree on that one. Looking to today's game then, James on YouTube said Minamino will be interesting to see again. Jackie said, I'm disappointed Adams isn't in, but overall looking great. Come on, you Saints. Kathy's going for a 2-1 win today. She says, come on, Saints, watching along from Yellow Springs, Ohio in the USA. Thank you for your company. Razor's going for a clean sheet, 2-0 to Southampton today. Danny Ings with a header and James Ward-Prowse with a free kick. And Lou has said, let's celebrate having two strong goalkeepers rather than calling for one. People underestimate the effects that changing a goalkeeper can have when injury is not involved, and Maka deserves his jersey. Well, thanks as always for your comments. Keep those coming in to us. Great to hear from all of those watching along at home. But for now, it's time to turn our attention back to the job at hand this evening, taking on Wolves once again, just a few days after we took them on at Molineux. And Thursday's win was, of course, Ralph's second over Wolves in his time as Saints boss. So we are going to recap the first.
Very good afternoon to you from a cool, grey St Mary's. These two sides are going to go at it this afternoon. Sims has got him down the right, pulls it back into the 6-yard area, and Nathan Redmond has his first goal as he tucks it in high into the net from 3 yards out. Here it comes, in towards the edge of the 6-yard box, free header, and this time they do score, and it might not have been totally free, but Willy Bolly got well above everybody else, as Sims holds it up midway inside the Wolves half, does well. Ings with a great ball, Redmond chips it past the goalkeeper beautifully. What a lovely move between all three forwards on the pitch. Sims, Ings, and then Redmond for his second. Ings again trying to play him behind, and he's got Sims in by Patricio, and he's put it wide. Ward-Prowse looking for the corner from the left, and there's plenty of players falling over and end up on the backside. Vestergaard's one of them, and it's poked him, and there's no flag. Shane Long looked offside for all money, but he's poked it past Rui Patricio as it came back to him on the right-hand side. Then the corner comes in, it's going to come out to Romeo, who hits it first time! Brilliant save by Rui Patricio to stop Yoshida. He's blocked it, and John Moss says that is it. Players go over to celebrate with the Saints fans. Job done, good home win.
Well, it's funny looking back at that game, Dean, and seeing 2 goals from Nathan Redmond playing up front, as he did so on Thursday night. Ralph has said that he likes playing him up top because he leads the press so well. Is that something that you also see in him?
Yeah, definitely. He's got the energy to be able to do that, and I think he's got the understanding as well. He doesn't just press when he ever sees an opportunity. He'll press when it's the right time to do it, when he feels as though they can win the ball back, so he conserves his energy. He's not just wasting energy. But they were effective the other night. You know, Nathan makes clever runs in behind. Yes, he's not a natural finisher, but I think if Danny's scoring regularly, or every partner's up front is scoring regularly, then that's not really his main role. So yeah, I think it can work. The manager obviously sees something in him to be able to play up there. I think his best position naturally is wide left, personally, because he can cut in, he can be very creative. When he does play up front, I'd still like to see him make some more central runs, like we just saw with the second goal there, where Danny Ings actually plays him in behind and he runs centrally, kind of off the line, and it was a really composed finish. But the movement the other night when Stuart Armstrong had really good feet and slid Nathan in, and then he checked back and then tried to hit with his left foot. I think that's what Nathan's all about. He plays on the line, he can get in behind, he's quick, he's direct. So I think it can work. But pressing, yeah, because I think he's got football intelligence, Nathan, and he understands the role. So yeah, he can definitely play in that position.
Adam, it's a position that Claude Puel tried playing him in as well. Where does he fit best for you?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting one in the respect that he can play up front and he can do quite a good job. But I think that the reality of the situation is that I don't see him, converting to being seen as a central option, like on a more permanent basis. I think if he played a few games there, eventually another player, an out-and-out striker, will come in and replace him in that position. So I think that's the difficulty for him. I mean, if Ralph decided, actually, I now see Nathan Redmond as a forward, could he do a job there? Yeah, I think he could. And I think especially with Danny, I think that's the key for Nathan, would be who he's playing with. He's a different player to this, but he could play a role of sort of an Ormerod to Danny's James Beattie, if you want to cast your mind back into Saints forward partnerships of the past. But for me, I think Nathan's best position is out wide on the left. I think he's got pace, so he can go outside. He's got that ability to cut in and shoot, which causes defenders a lot of problems. They don't really know what he's going to do. But Nathan is at his absolute best when he's confident. I think that's the big thing for him, no matter what position he plays in. For him, I really feel confidence is a huge thing for him. When he's been at his best is when he's been feeling confident, and I think also feeling a bit loved as well. I think he is a player who in the past has beaten up on himself a little bit. He's had some difficult times as well, and he's shown great strength of character, in my opinion, to come through those. But he's performed when he's been in the team consistently. He's always been a player at Saints who's probably struggled to just be an impact player. He has played best when he's played week in, week out, and he's got that confidence that he's not afraid to make mistakes. That position he's got, you, especially if he plays wide left, you've got to be brave, because you're going to be running with the ball a lot, and that means you're going to lose the ball a lot. And so you're going to get people, the crowd are going to get on your back a little bit. You're going to be a bit under a bit of spotlight. You're going to have people say you don't play very well when you have a game where you don't beat the man. But you've got to believe in yourself, because you've got to keep demanding the ball, and you've got to keep doing the things that you're good at and not retreat. And I think that Nathan has had that in the past, because he's had times where his confidence has got a bit battered. So for me, that's the key wherever he plays is confidence. But I think most naturally I see him as kind of a attacking wide left player.
Well, another Nathan Teller, caused some late havoc when he came off the bench on Thursday. Dean, is he a player that you'd like to see more of?
Yeah, I think obviously you'd love to see more of him because he's a younger player coming through and he's quick. He's pretty direct. He looks like he's tricky. So he's a creative player. But I think the manager's got it right with him at the moment. I think he's made 4 or 5 appearances so far. The manager's just introducing him slowly to get used to the level and the tempo of Premier League football and first team football. And obviously, when everyone's fit, he's got a lot of competition for them wide players in Stuart Armstrong, in Theo Walcott, Gineppo, Minamino. So it's going to be difficult for him to be consistently playing. But I think at the moment, his main role as a younger player, why he's trying to understand the game and why he's trying to develop, is to make that impact off the bench. When a manager brings him on with 10, 15 minutes left, just show what he can do again, like he did against Wolves. Come on, be aggressive with your running. Use that pace you've got. You know, he closed down the keeper, then very, very composed to find Stuart Armstrong in the box. Didn't just think, oh, this is my moment. I need to selfishly go for goal myself to make a name for myself. It was really good composure to find Stuart, and then Stuart finished. So he's making progress. And I think for the moment for him, it is that. Steps forward, making progress, learn off the more experienced players around you in training, and I think he'll become a really good player.
Adam, looking at the team as a whole then, how do you assess Southampton's current position in the league table?
They're kind of I feel like they're at a sort of a pivotal moment in where they're going to go in the league right now. When you look at it, 15 points off the bottom 3, they've not got to worry about relegation, that's fine. But then you kind of look at everybody else in the league and you see, well, they're only 4 points now above 4th bottom, and they're 7 points off of Villa in 8th. So there's an 11-point spread there between all of those teams that are in there, and Arsenal are in there, Tottenham are in that mix, teams like that. So from Saints' point of view, if they harbour any ambitions of trying to attack 8th, they can't get further behind really than they are now with what, 16 games left to go of the season. You can't. They need a little bit of a run of form now, I feel, if they're going to kind of reignite excitement in what they could achieve in the league season. Otherwise, I think for them it's going to be fighting out with kind of everybody else, and then the target becomes still a very presentable one. Can they finish in the top half? I mean, that'd still be a good season. But you know, when people can remember fresh in your mind that they were top of the table not that long ago, it feels a little bit disappointing to be kind of now with 16 games to go saying, well, could they finish 10th? That would be good. Even though, you know, on reflection, it is a decent finish. But so I think they can't really afford to slip too much further behind those teams, because I think some of those teams are playing well. They are picking up points in the top half of the table. Some of them, Tottenham, Arsenal, probably are going to pick up some form, some better form, and probably are going to make it harder to finish in those higher positions as well. So Saints can't really wait any longer. Otherwise, no fears of them going down. But otherwise, I think the season, from a league perspective purely, is just going to drift away and just be kind of playing out time whilst we kind of wait for the big ones around the FA Cup game or games that are to come. So yeah, I think these are a big few weeks for Saints, because they really need to pick up some form again now to keep the league season alive.
Yeah, with focus switching back to the Premier League, Dean, how do you think Southampton will approach the game today? Do you think it will be hugely different from Thursday's FA Cup match?
No, I don't think it will. I think it will be a tougher test, because I think Wolves will be stronger and they'll look to react. But one thing, like reflecting on the game, that I thought Southampton did very well in the first half. There wasn't many chances, but Southampton kept possession of the ball. Were very, very good at that, and kind of frustrated Wolves, which actually meant second half Wolves tried to press Southampton a little bit more, which then left that space in behind for the runs of Danny Ings, for the runs of Nathan Redmond. So I think it's more of that again. I think Walker-Peters, you know, flying down the right-hand side at home, he's very, very effective at that. The diagonal ball of Vestergaard to find him. Armstrong becoming central again. I think that's where he's most effective, when he gets on the ball. So I wouldn't change a lot. I'd expect a reaction from Wolves where they may start the game a little bit faster, with a bit more intensity, but they're not a huge goal threat. So I think it's there for Southampton to take the game to Wolves, to really put a marker down, try and press them, win the ball back. And then if it is periods of patient possession, to try and frustrate Wolves or try and bring them out and then find that killer pass. And with Minamino in the team, with Armstrong in the team, they can find them passes. So it's really, really important that Danny Ings and Nathan Redmond make them runs. They might have to make 2, 3, 4 and not get the ball, but continually do it. And I think that's where they'll cause Wolves problems.
Well, Adam, Wolves are on a crazy run of not having scored the first goal, in any of their last 13 Premier League games. Now, only 3 other clubs have had worse runs in Premier League history. Not a good stat to be associated with. What does that tell us about them?
Well, it's definitely a crazy stat, Kenzie, that's for sure. But I think when I watch Wolves, well, Dean's right. First of all, what he said is correct. They are not a big goal threat, full stop. So that's obviously plays into that statistic. But also, I think they're cautious starters. When you see them, they try and they like to start not at the highest tempo a lot of the time. They get their foot on the ball. They want to get possession. They like to kind of try and build their way into games rather than sort of having this fast and furious approach to starting a game. And I think that also has played into that crazy statistic. But I think, to be honest, today's game, I think, as Dean sort of hinted at it there, I think Wolves are going to have to start fast. 'Cause I think if they start slow, that's actually going to just play into Saints' hands a little bit here. So I think I'm sure they'll be thinking that and they'll be cautious of that, or they should be anyway. Because I think Saints will probably try and, knowing that, will probably try and start fast as well, even if they then have to know that they're going to settle in a little bit after 10 or 15 minutes. So I would think that Wolves will try and combat that. And if they don't, I think they're leaving the door open for Saints a little bit.
Yeah, well, with less than half an hour to go until kick-off and before the icicles start to form on our noses out here, we'll get your final thoughts, gentlemen. Dean, let's come to you first. How do you think the game's going to go and what's your score prediction?
I think it'll be very similar to the other night. Like I said, I've mentioned a couple of times, there will be a reaction from Wolves, whether that comes early, later in the game, there will be a reaction. They've got a stronger team out. But I'm going to go for the same scoreline as Thursday night. I'm going to go for a 2-0 to Southampton.
All right, so Dean's saying 2-0. Adam, do you think it will be a repeat of the FA Cup?
I think Wolves have got a stronger team out today. I think they're going to be determined for a bit of revenge, but I also think the Saints are going to be buoyed by that and confident. So I have a funny feeling it might be a teams cancelling each other out type affair here and a 1-1 draw.
Well, Dean, Adam, thank you so much, or Posh and Bex rather, should I say. Thank you for your company. Great to have you with us on Saints Live as always. Well, Southampton and Wolves will lock horns for the second time in just 72 hours, as Steve said, in under 30 minutes time now. We'll have all the match reaction for you on the final whistle after the game. Both teams will be hoping for a win, but only one team will be feeling the love after the match. Bye for now.